Let me change this. Please check your muting on your devices. Isn't that uplifting? Keep going on. We're making it up as we go. It's true. Sorry to you folks on YouTube and Facebook. Another time I'll just let it go and we'll see what happens with the copyright infringement. So let's sit. It's big at this time. There's lots of uncertainty. COVID is surging. The election's in a few days. Some of our friends are sick. My brother-in-law's in the hospital. Everything's in change. Babies are being born. I'm going to have a socially distanced pass by with one of our friends at PIMC who's having twins tomorrow. So let's land here. In this moment, which is the only moment that ever exists. It's always now. In whatever mood we find ourselves, with whatever level of enthusiasm for life we have this morning, with the joy, the lightness, the brightness of heart, with the sadness, the depression, the despair, whatever's here. And let's drop into the body. Incidentally, if you want to hear that song or others by the Bengsons, you can go to my blog, and there's 2 of them there. The blog is at robertbeatty.com. And so we land now here. And we land in the body that sits, that touches the chair, the floor, in the aliveness of the hands, the fingers, into the reality of breathing in and breathing out. Not a fantasy of breathing in and breathing out, but the actual sensations. The stretching of tissues in the chest and abdomen. And while we don't think of it that way often, what we do is take a spiritual vow, an intention. I intend to sit here for a little while. I intend to park the body, to tolerate the mild itches and discomforts, and to assume the position of observing, of awakening to really whatever happens, starting with the aliveness of the body. Each breath does its usual thing. It has a beginning, a rising to fullness, a decline, and a vanishing. There will come a time when we look back on the time of COVID. It came, it went. And then it will always still be now. And there may well be thoughts, the 5 hindrances: desire, aversion, restlessness, sloth and torpor, and doubt. There may be mood, strong mood, faint mood. There may be emotions. No matter what arises, we keep coming back to being awake, to this breath. This one right now. Mindfulness supported by concentration. Bringing along with them curiosity, persistence, effort, tranquility, and equanimity result in a quiet joy, an inner joy, ease. Equanimity allows us to accept whatever's happening. It's a remarkable thing to accept whatever's happening. The mind's wandering, it's known. There's desire, wanting, craving, grasping. It's known. It's not an accident that it's there, it's human. There's loneliness or there's fear. They come with sensations in the body. They're normal. They're human. A sense of bliss and delight blossoms sometimes. Nothing to cling to, but certainly to experience fully. And so we rest in in-breathing and out-breathing. We rest in the willingness to receive and love ourselves exactly as we discover them to be this morning, this moment. There's always plenty of pain in a human body. With equanimity, we receive it. We know that we share this with all of life. This could be a time of experiencing sickness. Could be a time of health, or somewhere in between. Sometimes people say I couldn't practice because I was sick. Sickness is the perfect time to practice. What are the symptoms? Sickness is normal for human beings. It's not a mistake. It's not an aberration. So how do we stay conscious? How do we stay awake? We notice what's happening in the body. We notice what happens in the mind, the moods that change, the concerns. As journeyers on the Dharma road, there is no experience of life that is not worthy of our loving, compassionate experiencing. And please now let us add into our practice a cognitive heart, a complication. With the in-breath, please let us take these thoughts in, or whatever thoughts you'd like to have. You can use your own auto-translator and have this be the voice of any person you'd like it to be. So on the in-breath, may I be deeply happy. On the out-breath, may all beings be happy. In-breath, may I be free from fear and danger. May all beings be free from fear and danger. Fill yourself with light. Fill yourself with love. Remember the most loving and luminous moments of your life. Let them be now. May I live with ease and grace. May all beings live with ease and grace. May my life become one great sigh of gratitude. May all beings experience lives of great gratitude, contentment. May I remember my true great nature. May all beings remember their true great nature. Breathing in, I love you with your name at the end. Breathing out, may all beings experience profound love and awakening. In a few moments, a gong will ring. In keeping with the tradition of Ruth Denison, this morning there will be two gongs. The first is a call to wake up, to be present. To plummet into the body, to really notice the thoughts and emotions, everything that's happening. And then the second is the signal to bring awareness into the face and the eyes, and then to let them open. Or more accurately, to do the effort to bring them open and be aware of seeing. want to tell you about this beautiful gong. It rings for a long time. It has a story. I was at Hollyhock teaching, and they have, of course, an upscale gift shop. And on the way to where I usually stay, I passed by the gift shop, and I've known the woman who runs it for 20 years. And so I stop and visit, and I'm always looking for a gift for my kids or Jennifer when I'm away. And anyway, I was playing the gongs, and I rang this one, and it was, whoa, that is a gong. And then I saw greed arise, desire, wanting. It's like, I want it. And then I thought, I have a gong. I have a gong that works just fine, but it's not like this, and so on. So over the days of the retreat, each day I would walk through and ring it once, and I decided I'm going to decide on the last day at lunch, I'll walk by and I'll ring it, and then I'll decide whether I can fight this off or get it. And I mentioned it in the group. It was very instructive about wanting and needing, and deciding sometimes to resist the wanting. And anyway, the last day I went by, and I was really, I pretty much decided I wouldn't get it. And then it was gone. And I mentioned to the woman that, and I shared with her what I was doing. And she said, yeah, one of your students bought it. And I thought, well, that's a relief. Good, I don't have to buy it. And then in the closing circle, he had it. And he gave it to me. It was very touching. And and there's a whole story with him and illness. And so I have a strong connection. And it's gorgeous. So, what's happening with you today, my dear friends? We have some time for some sharing. I don't think there's pressing announcements. How are you faring in this time of COVID? Pardon me.
Robert.
Pamela.
Hello.
Hello. How nice of you to appear.
Yeah, I have been traveling for the last 2.5 weeks across a part of the country, driving each day with my dog. And came down with COVID. And am getting better now. I am grateful. It seems to have been a light case. I've been speculating on when I could have gotten it because I was pretty careful about masking and all of that wherever I went. So it's when you were talking about sort of dropping into the body, it's been an interesting process, including dealing with fear when I first got the diagnosis and had to take that in and realize that it wasn't likely, given that I'd probably already had it for a week before I ever knew about it, that I might not die, and I might. And just going through all that was just a really interesting process to watch. And now I am pretty much better. And tomorrow they say I can get off of quarantine, although I may stay for another couple of days just to be sure. But it's just been an interesting process. That's all.
Thank you. I'm glad you got a light case.
Yeah, me too.
What were your symptoms?
Well, I was driving a lot, and I was in very high, well, some high elevations. I went over the Tetons, and so the symptoms I had were symptoms that I might have if I were driving a lot and was really tired. And I was out of breath a lot, but I was in high elevations, and I don't tolerate elevations very well. I never had a fever, as far as I know. I didn't get a cough till near the end. And I have some asthma, so even if I'd coughed, I wouldn't have thought much of it. So all of my symptoms were easily explained elsewhere, so it didn't occur to me. And I just decided to get a test because I was going to be staying with a dear friend of mine who's 93. And I was rather shocked when the test came back positive. So I probably could have gotten through it without ever realizing it. And just been tired and so hung out and took it easy for a while because that's all I did. So
glad you were able to protect your 93-year-old friend.
Yes. I immediately got out of her house and came to a friend's house that is my age and is healthy. So that was good.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for checking in.
Thanks for being here.
I just watched a whole series of thoughts happen internally, obviously. Internally, and I don't know if you've ever done this, but if you're around a wood stove and you got it hot, and if you take a little water and just on your finger and you put drops onto the top of the stove, they don't really land on the stove. They hit the heat and then they dance, and then they diminish and then disappear. It's like they don't want to touch that hot stove, and they turn to steam instantly. And it came to that after there's I am There's some things I'm deeply concerned about. Among them is the election and this Supreme Court change. And the mind doesn't want to touch them. When they come up, there's a kind of recoiling. It's like, no, no, no. Can't be that. Can't be that. And suppression isn't a bad thing. You know, it's a useful thing. But it does take a lot of work. All that dancing on top of the hot stove. And there's other things happening in my life that are hard. And it's such a strength to be able to have a practice like this and to have companions so that we can turn inward and take time to actually stop and to allow those drops to actually hit and to feel our way through what comes up when we are actually in contact with more of ourselves, more of our internal process. It's funny, that all came up in like 3 seconds, and less than that. Thoughts are so amazing. And also the sense of recoiling. That's powerful. Stress. Reality can't be like this. I will not accept that it's like this. That's a lot of suffering, isn't it?
Hey, Robert.
Hey, KB.
How you doing there? You looking good.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that song has led to a bunch of thoughts for me. The woman singing that song has an incredible energy, and she's like the sun, and you can see even her partner radiates around her like a planet. She's got something going on, and she's she's sharing it, and it's a big, powerful ball of light and energy. And watching her reminded me that there's a true great nature in that, and that I can identify with it a little bit because as an actor, I've had to generate that kind of energy, and I know how to do it. Mm-hmm. And I haven't been doing it in my life. I only did it on stage, you know? And it made me realize, oh, well, that's a connection I've been missing. I've been somehow waiting for something to come in and fill me instead of realizing that I am the engine and I have the ability to generate truthfully, honestly, and with deep sincerity if I start kind of working on it. And it made me realize that this might be the path, the Buddhist path. And I just was wondering what you thought about that.
I've seen her in you. That extraordinary passion that you have. And it sounds like you're having a realization of that we can participate in selecting which states to inhabit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting for them to fill you, you know, being a little more hands-on, as long as you're truthful and honest and real, is not cheating. Makes sense?
Yeah. You mustn't cheat when it comes to bringing joy into the world.
Yeah, you can't fake it.
Well, you in a way you can. Loving metta meditation. Sometimes it can seem so ridiculous. May I be happy. May I be free from fear and danger. Blah, 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 blah. But then, what about, for myself, what if I imagine holding one of my children as an infant? Or what if I do that while patting my little old dog and cherishing him, and because we can manipulate our state to some degree. That's why the first 9/10 of our meditation is not about manipulation at all. It's about be awake. Be awake. Notice what you're noticing, and then switching gears into turn toward the joy. Turn toward the love. Speaking of which, I'm going to announce it now. I'm going to try something. Tomorrow morning at 6:30, I'm going to have a dance party here in my little house, and you're invited. And I do that. I do that on my own, and I do that on retreats. And I'm not sure quite how to do it. I think I'm not going to dance in front of the camera the whole time, but I will play the music, and it's music. Pause.
You're going to be the Dharma DJ.
I'll be the Dharma DJ tomorrow, and you're welcome to come. And let me tell you, if you're in a heavy, unhappy state, to dance and sing for half an hour will make a difference. And it is cheating, but I'm going to try it once and see how it goes.
Well, I want to send you some metta, Robert, and tell you, hope is coming. 7 days. There's going to be a big mess, and then on the other side of it, there's going to be hope, and there's going to be forward motion again. So hang in there. We're almost done.
I think you're right. I think it's going to be a big change. I hope. And if it isn't, now that'll be some practice. Oh, shit. Oh, no. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh God.
You could have said goodbye, Robert, before you.
Oh God.
That was a big change.
Oh dear. Technical incompetence here. How funny. I wonder if everybody got back in. Oh, there's people in the waiting room. Sheesh.
It is great to come back to the laughter.
Oh dear.
Oh my God, that was funny.
Yeah, it was. I secretly can't stand being here. Oh, here's the asthma. Don't laugh with the asthma, damn it. Woo! Good morning, dear friends.
I'm remembering an old friend of mine right now who was prone to long conversations, and when I'd sort of be like, okay, I'm going to have to get going soon, he'd go, okay, bye. And he wouldn't really hang up, but he was just teasing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, goodness.
I've come so close to doing that so many times. And I thought it was end spotlight, but it was end the meeting.
It was very interesting watching the dancing thoughts that came up when it happened.
Yeah?
Yeah. Why did you do that?
Well, clearly the master does everything intentionally. Oh, dear.
You know, Robert, when those kind of things happen, I'm like, why would he like end the meeting? That was my first thought. And then I just started laughing because it was like so perfect, right? At that phrasing where there's going to be a big change. And then it was gone, and it was like that is kind of like life. Like 1 minute there's something, and the next minute there's something else. So it was actually perfect in a comedic way.
Mm-hmm. Being a teacher, a Dharma teacher in particular, I think, is a very strange role because it summons a tremendous amount of projection, idealization, and so on. And I can remember the storms of transference I've had with my teachers, and presuming that their every act was meaningful, and that they, you know, he didn't look at me when he came in the room. That must mean he's angry at me, and all that stuff that's normal for us humans, and that we can really make use of. We can see it happening in ourselves, and if we're fortunate enough to have actual relationship with someone who's kind and somewhat awake, we can recognize some of those projections for what they are. And one of the things that happens with projection also is we project our positive side and our awakeness and our love and compassion on the teacher, and that means we get to feel it. And in the feeling of it, then the possibility arises of realizing, oh wait, this isn't him, her, them, this is me. I am this. I am awake like this. I am loving like this, because the feelings are in us. It's a very it's a beautiful dance, actually.
Well, full disclosure, Robert, I also had dancing thoughts about whether the big one had happened and Portland was nuked or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good.
And I was about to type, hey, and we can hope for the best, but let's remember to vote. And just as I was getting ready to do the chat, I lost you. And Janet and I both said, oh, I screwed up. I ended us. And then I realized that the teacher had done it. It wasn't my fault.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yes, voting is pretty important.
I wanted to say one last thing, Robert.
Yes,
Don't worry. We're going to expand the court. Don't you worry now. We're going to add justices.
Goodness. I don't want to listen to promises.
Maybe.
In that vein, I take refuge in the Buddha. The external world is always going to be profoundly unstable and full of strife. It always has been. It always will be. If we get a new administration, and I hope we do, there will still be constant strife and struggle, and it'll be better, I think, and the direction of my values and probably most of your values will be followed. But it's still going to be a mess. The planet is heating up, and there's nothing we can do about it really at this point. We can try, but we're and not simplified before. Simplify it, Robert. Sickness, old age, decay, and death are happening for all of us. And instability in our families, and it's always going to be a challenge with dukkha. Hence the importance of our practice, no matter what we do in terms of activism and making the world a better place. The world where I really do focus in here, this is where happiness comes from. It's not from relationship, it's not from anywhere but right in here. Fundamentally. But let's dance some too, and play, and be functional, and make the world a better place to the best of our ability. So anybody else got anything you'd like to share?
Robert, I'd like to share something. This is Nicolina.
Hi, Michelina.
Hi. So when we were sitting, I noticed a lot of different states within me, and I noticed a lot of grief and sorrow, and I noticed also a lot of like gratitude and some discomfort, and I feel like I've like in my practice I've noticed that before. Like it's not new, but it was somehow like a noticing that came from a place that was a little deeper, and there was less intellectualization of it and more experience that felt more like direct. And I'm curious about that. Why was it different? Like what was different there? What was the shift?
This mind is translating what you're saying into what the Buddha called bare attention. That I can pay attention to the sensations in my hand, or the sensations of your back against the chair right now. And you can sort of know them, but there's also thoughts about them. There's opinion about it. There's cognition about it. It's not awareness and experience. And so from the beginning of the training, like with the breath, I'm encouraging us, notice the beginning of the breath, notice the sensations of the breath, and then sometimes I'll say things like this. Notice that even the word breath is not true. There's nothing, the breath doesn't exist as an experience. What exists is these sensations now. And the beginning of the breath is distant from the middle of the breath. Right? The more concentrated and attentive and bare attention you get, the breath begins, and then there are sensations, decelerating, pause, accelerate. And The beginning is over as it happens. Everything is always over as it happens. And the mind begins, and I think it's obvious that this is happening for you, that you start noticing much more directly. And so emotions become more real in a way. I think you use that word. They're more tangible. It's more, oh, this is what this is. And there's less thought about it. Then if an interpretive thought occurs, there's noticing, oh, a thought. Let me come back to the emotion. And that's where transformation happens. It's always and only in the moment. Let me read you something. This is one of it's a very short but powerful teaching. It may be on my blog already. If it isn't, I'll try to get it up there today. I think it is. It's Krishnamurti. Krishnamurti was a man who was discovered by Madame Blavatsky and the others of the Theosophical Society in India, and they groomed him into his 20s to become the next Messiah. And then at his coming out party as the Messiah, he said, forget it. I don't want to do this. And he became a very famous teacher. Okay. You ready? The seeing is the doing. Transformation occurs only when none of the following are present. Desire to change the experience, judgment, analysis, justification, grasping, selfing, resisting, or believing I am witnessing. That's quite a list, isn't it? Transformation occurs only when none of the following are present. The desire to change the experience. Like, this emotion is too much, or I like this emotion. Judgment. Analysis. I wonder why I have this emotion. Justification. Well, of course I feel like this because of... Grasping. I like this, I like this. Selfing. I have this emotion. It's a story about the emotion. Resisting, or the clincher, believing I am witnessing. So,
Yeah, well, what is that?
well,
That made me go, what?
well, it's such an explosive at the end of the list. It's like, okay, I get it about judgment, I get it about analysis, but still, I've got my little me. I've got my little me here, and I'm watching all this. And then at the end he goes, boom! That goes too. And then there's just knowing. There's just contact. And I can get very complicated with these conceptions, but that's what's happening. You're dropping out of conception, out of cognition, into direct experience. And then things change. That's how healing really happens.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You know, like around traumas that we've had, we can, when a moment of just being present with that awful, often anguish of whatever it was that happened, that we remember happening, that we now have a story about happening, that it's like, there's something that is, there's no resistance to it. And then it can move.
I often like think of that as a moment of like clearing the pipes.
Yeah.
Flushing the toilet.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's been stuck and it's been going and going and going, and then whoosh. And sometimes I can feel it at the back of my head. When that happens, there's like a little like I don't know, like a little like breath that happens like at the base of my skull.
Hmm.
And it's like, oh.
Wonderful.
there it goes.
Thank you for that question. I think helpful for many.
Thank you.
All right, friends. Let me get back to the gallery. Shh. Anybody sitting with something pressured want to say? Alrighty. Let's go out with our funny little song. Please unmute yourself if you wish. And don't forget the dance party at 6:30 tomorrow morning. Are you going to remember, Robert? This is outside of the usual schedule. Okay, I'll try. I will. I'll be here.
Can I say something very briefly?
Yeah. Yes, please.
As you're going through that little list of things, and it's like the justification and stuff, and I having grown up in an American school system where we're striving to be that thing that the teacher wants us to be, and now as a music teacher, seeing just how unhelpful it is when I see this in my own students. When you went through that list, it was just kind of like, oh yeah, we all do this. It's not like a them don't do this, right? Because we're in such a punitive sort of a structure of how we do things in our culture, but just like a recognizing so that we don't get caught up in something that's just really not helpful. And I just wanted to say thank you.
Yay. All right. Are we ready? Let's all keep it together now. 1, 2, 3. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Goodbye. Keep
Bye, everyone.
Keep going on.
Bye.
Be well, be well, be well.
Thank you.
Bye, fun.
Hello, Mish and Kat. Whoop. Ah, there you are. How nice
Hi.
to see you together.
Yes. We're in a little Buddhist cabin out by Mount Hood.
Did it convert or was it built Buddhist?
It was built Buddhist. The whole thing is literally, we drove up and every single decorating element, every single book, every single thing